We're live. Guys, today we're talking about Jumanji. In the jungle, you must wait until the dice read 5 or 8. I'm so excited. Welcome. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees. Welcome to week 2 of the Robin Williams movie marathon. We already have 9 people? Wow. That's like big for the first opening seconds of a Teacup for One live show. I am honored and thrilled. You're probably here for Jumanji. And why wouldn't you be? Or Robin Williams. It is a classic. So if any of you are brand new, we just lost 3 of you. Please come back. If any of you are brand new, the way the Teacup movie marathons work, I pick a theme. I line up a bunch of movies. A bunch of my favorite people come on the channel and we talk about them every week. So the theme for this month are Robin Williams films. We kind of started unofficially at the tail end of the Peter Pan movie marathon. We discussed Hook. Last week we came together and we discussed, what was that movie? Dead Poet Society. This week it is all about Jumanji. Welcome to the Jungle. It's a really interesting movie because it's like such a 90s movie, but in the best way possible. And it's kind of had a resurgence with the reboot with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and all those other delightful folks. And yeah, it's just so interesting to me to go back and rewatch the original and to see how vastly different it is from this reboot that we've had kind of flooding pop culture over the past few years. And I'm sure we'll get into that because I've seen them. I don't remember much about them, but I've seen them. But it's really all about Robin and all about the original films. So tonight is hopefully going to be full of surprises. I cannot wait. We're going to bring in our first guest for this evening. You know her. You love her. It's Lisa Alves, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lisa. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about Jumanji with you.
Me too. I've seen this movie so many times, so I'm
really
excited to dive in. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize it was like a favorite. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming it's a favorite if you've seen it so many times. Maybe you were hate watching. I don't know. We'll get into that.
We'll see.
Yeah. So, Lisa, tell us about you. Who is Lisa? What does Lisa do? I know you just announced an exciting show. Tell us all about that.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So I am the managing producer at Cahoots Theatre in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And we just announced our first show back from the pandemic called 3 Ordinary Men, which is it's a very sad story, but it's a very beautiful and passionate story about the civil rights movement, specifically about the Freedom Summer in 1964. And it's premiering on June 14th at the Theater Center. So tickets are live. Yay!
Lisa!
Tickets are live and you can go and buy them. They're very affordable. It's pay what you can afford. So we have different tiers. So if you're coming in person, yeah, they'll be there.
Oh, that's so exciting. I'm going to do my absolute best to make it. And hopefully I can. I think there's like 1 or 2 dates that are possibilities. So fingers crossed, because if that's my return to theater, I could not ask for anything better. Woo! Not even Harry Potter, which as of now is going to be my return to theater, but I'd much rather it be your show. So hopefully that'll happen.
I advocate for that.
Brilliant. All right. And let's bring in our next guest for this evening. If there's anyone that is like an avid patron of the Teacup Movie Club, you'll remember this face from one show during our Oscar movie marathon season when we discussed Dune and the Kwisatz Haderach and all those ridiculous nonsense words. So here to speak even more ridiculous nonsense words, it's Alex T-Tie, everyone.
Hello.
Hello, Alex. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here. So, yeah, Alex, same thing. Tell us a little bit about you. Who's Alex? What does Alex do?
Alex is just a humble human, making his way throughout this crazy world, on this crazy planet that we know. I'm a musical theater trained performer. Prior to the pandemic, was performing. Was fortunate enough to perform relatively regularly. And then nowadays, I mix it up. I do what I can to pay the rent, and then I get the pleasure and the good fortune to occasionally perform again. And I have a performance actually with you, Matt.
What?
Well, I mean, we're not performing on stage together, but
sure we're not.
You're directing a show that I'm going to be performing in, hopefully, assuming all things work out until that point. But we're going to be in a show together.
Let's not jinx it. We've had so many roadblocks so far. But yeah, so Alex T-Tie is in a musical that I'm directing that's going to be opening in Niagara. I think it's July 20th. It's called Wine Stay the Musical. It's about wine and friendship and bonding over wine and book clubs. And it's a really fun show. So it's an original Canadian musical that premiered a couple years ago in the Chatham area, and now the producers are bringing it to Niagara. And so I get to direct it with a cast of all-stars who I absolutely adore, one of which is Alex Titai, the rest of which, if you've seen anything that I've done here before in Niagara Falls, you probably recognize all the faces because they used to work at the O-Canada Dinner Theater with me. A delightful, magical place, and so happy to be reuniting all of them for a fun new show. So yeah, come see that. Why not? It'll be fun.
I'm definitely going to come and see that. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, wine and musical theater. It's such a good combo. Oh, let's just check the comments here. Yes, Martha, you have a very keen eye. We're wearing identical wardrobes. Hold on.
What's
this? Oh my gosh. Matata, it means worry.
Oh my God, I want one. Where do I get one?
Oh my gosh. Well, Lisa, if you want to get one, they're currently available in the Teacup for One tea shop. Link. Oh, I don't have the thing with the link right now. But link teacupfor1.big. Wait, hold on. I can make it happen. Just a second. Please stand by. Create a banner. Teacupfor1.big. I think it's this. I think this is it. I think that's the link.
Yeah.
So yeah, visit there. You can get one of these delightful shirts, or you can get one that has my smiling face on it. It's a good time to be had by all. So yeah, there it is. They're so much fun. I designed them. This is my personal favorite because it's Matata. It means worry. Very appropriate for a movie all about the jungle that's causing a lot of people to worry. So with that said, let's dive into Jumanji. Oh, and I will also say, these are our first two guests for this evening. I know we're going to have at least one more, and I kind of threw the StreamYard link onto my personal Facebook page, inviting people to randomly drop in on us in the spirit of Jumanji and random surprises. So I'm kind of hoping that happens. We'll see if it does. So be on the lookout for random surprises. But until then, let's talk about Jumanji. So was this anyone's first time watching the movie? I don't think so. No. All right. So let's talk about, because I always like to open with this, especially for nostalgic movies. Does anyone remember their first encounter with the film? Or if you don't remember the exact first time, just what did this movie mean to you the first time-ish that you saw it? Presuming that it was when it came out and we were all youngsters. And I'm going to go first. This is my show. Excuse me. Now, for me, I have a very distinct memory of this movie. And I actually went to see it with one of our guests this evening, Martha, right there, my mom. And yeah, it was a summer movie that came out, and it's just like, it's such a classic 90s summer kids movie, which I absolutely adore. And I don't even think it's just for kids. And I think it just falls into this beautiful place that movies of that era fell into, where they weren't like, they were for everyone, where they were kids movies that had a little bit of a scary factor. And I love that. So yeah, I went to see it with my mom and a friend of mine and his mom, and all of us literally had nightmares after seeing this movie. I had nightmares all night, and it just always stood out to me as being a film that was for kids, but still just like dug into the like deepest, darkest fears that you had and just made you face them. And now rewatching it as an adult, that's something I very much appreciate. But yeah, it was like the most delightfully scary film I saw in a theater as a kid, and I found it exciting and thrilling and loved it. Lisa, how about you?
So it was 1995 when it came out. I was born in 94, so I didn't see it in the theaters, but I do remember seeing it on TV all the time, just like Hook. So like Robin Williams was like the star on my TV screen for all of my childhood. And I remember being so captivated by the adventure. Like, it's so much fun. I remember just wanting to be part of that game as a kid. And maybe it says a lot about who I am now. Because what an adventure. But I think as I was watching it last night, I realized that a lot of my fears are stem from this movie, like the mosquitoes, the quicksand, like just dissipating into like air. Like it's very irrational, but I also wonder if it has affected my love for horror movies in a way, because I am obsessed with horror and I'm obsessed with thrillers and anything that's very exciting in movies. So it was one of my favorites as a kid, and it was so nice to revisit because it stood the test of time for me.
I think it does too. We'll get into that, but yeah. And Alex, now I know you didn't get much of a chance to rewatch it because I asked you to be on the show like 2 hours ago, and you didn't even see the part with Robin Williams. But we'll get to how it holds up for you now. But what do you remember of it from your childhood? Because that's what most of your conversation is probably going to be rooted in today.
Well, yeah, I mean, well, no, we'll see.
Okay.
You are correct though. So I did watch it probably, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times and certainly not how many times I've watched it through to completion, but I'm pretty sure we owned it on VHS when I was a kid.
Oh, classic VHS movie.
Yeah. So, I watched it when I was a kid but I hadn't watched it since. So like you said, you told me about the being on the show, and then I found it on, what is it? Prime Video. Amazon Prime, and then watched about 20 minutes of it. But basically, from that 20 minutes, I also kind of started recollecting certain details, not many of them, but I started remembering like Robin Williams and how he kind of looks when he gets back, even though I didn't actually get to that part of the movie. And then I also recollected the villain, at least what I remember being the villain, being the hunter, the colonel guy, whatever he was. And I always remembered. I never forgot scenes of zoo animals running around the streets. So these are sort of the things that I remember. But back to the question of what I remember how it impacted me in my childhood. It's the fear, right? I remember it being a scary movie. I remember there being and I couldn't describe the shot, but I vaguely recollect shots with the drums, the jungle drums or whatever, and animal faces or weird masks or that colonel guy's face. I remember he looked creepy in some scenes. And I don't remember if his face ever changes into something, not inhuman, but maybe there's just through cinematography and angles and acting that he maybe produces some of the nightmares that we've had. But yeah, that's about it. I don't have too many details that I recollect. It was a movie that I was definitely, caused fear in me when I was a little boy.
Okay, fair. And I think that kind of explains everyone's childhood experience with Jumanji. It's pure fear. It's a movie that is about fear, which I appreciate so dearly. And I think that's what has made it hold up, in my opinion. But before we get to that, let's just jump into the comments because we have some new friends here. Seth is with us. Hi, Seth. What year is it? It was brand new.
Oh, yeah, the meme. The meme. That's true. That's a Jumanji meme.
It is a Jumanji meme.
I don't think I actually ever put that together. I don't think I ever realized. I knew it was Robin Williams, but I and the meme's been around for who knows how long now. But I never. Yeah.
And then he says, he thinks he's talking about the car. I get that joke now as an adult. It made no sense to me as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, I didn't understand that. But now I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. Oh, and then we have some friends here answering what year the movie was made. Was it 93 or 95?
It was 95, but I think it was set in.
Or it takes place in 90. That makes sense.
But it starts in the 1800s with the kids hiding.
Yeah.
And then it jumps to the 60s.
Then it jumps to the 60s. Then it jumps to the 90s.
Yeah.
It's so universal. I love it. One thing that kind of bothers me, and we'll talk about the reboot or sequels later probably, but I can't tell where it ends when I feel like it's in France or something when they find it at the very end after they throw it away. But then in the reboot, which I started rewatching the other night, it's still in America. I'm not up for that kind of retconning. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it. But yeah, so let's talk about how the movie holds up now as adult viewers, because it held up surprisingly better than I expected it to, personally, because I think a lot of movies from that era are very hit and miss, in my opinion, and almost to the point where I'm afraid to revisit some films. I was talking to Kristen Zaza, who joined us from Peter Pan a couple of weeks ago, about how Pagemaster, which directed by the same guy, a movie that I loved as a kid, but I don't want to revisit it because I feel like it's not as good as I remember. But Jumanji, in my opinion, surprisingly, it's there. It does it. A big thing that I appreciate, since it is kind of Robin Williams grounded, is that it didn't suffer from the thing that annoyed me in Hook, where it was Robin Williams playing the funny too hard and too aggressively. Like, I think, yeah, the Robin Williams humor and the improvisations were layered in a way that just served the character and the story so beautifully. And I just can't get over how this is a movie about fear. It's so beautiful. Even just the concept that every time you roll the dice, something new, some kind of new phobia that I think is just inherently embedded in every person, at least one of them, is going to trigger you. And then just to have it a lot like come alive and attack you in a space that would normally seem safe, to me, is so thrilling just as a concept. And I just love the structure of this movie, that they just have to finish the game and then all the things are getting in the way. Even something as simple as you have to play in the order of your turn and then they can't move forward because Robin isn't with them. Like, I love that. It's so exciting. But yeah, Lisa, what are your thoughts? How does it hold up for you now?
Yeah, I was so nervous rewatching it. Because I guess the last time I saw it was when I was like 12 or 13. And I quickly forgot how short it is. It's only an hour and 40-ish minutes. And as an adult, I love shorter films
Yes.
because you can just eat it up. And so that was wonderful. And I don't know if it was, I watched on Disney Plus. So I don't know if the animations were remastered. To me, it didn't look like it from my memory, but those animations from the 90s still hold, like they're still good today's standards.
The monkeys.
The monkeys.
So
I mean, the only ones that were weird for me were the spiders. They clearly looked
Right.
like props, but like the puppetry of it was still fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing, so I watched it with my partner and we were like commenting on the mental health aspect, like the fear
Yeah.
and like the anxiety. And I, as a person with anxiety, I'm like, this is great. Like, this is funny. It's like satire, especially Bonnie Hunt's character, Sarah, how like she goes to her therapist. She's calling her therapist for more medication. But I can see how like that is not so nice
Mhm.
to like that, like the demographic who does suffer from anxiety or mental health situations. But like, as a person who has a lot of anxiety of the world, I thought it was an interesting satire in that part, and I like the way that they did eventually handle it, and specifically with Sarah's growth throughout. It was beautiful. Like she conquered her own fears, and yeah, I think it still holds up to the test of time, and I really appreciated just revisiting those childhood fears of mine and realizing, yes, I'm still deathly afraid of mosquitoes, even if they're this tiny. In my head, I always think that they're humongous.
Yeah, they're gonna get through the glass.
Oh, or
Or
like
they come through the ceiling.
oh no, not
Yeah,
fun.
no,
No,
it's over. It's done. And Alex, same question. How do you feel this movie holds up now? Just based on
First
your
20
memory of it
minutes.
or what you've seen today? What'd you say?
Yeah. So I mean, what I saw was I could write a book on what I saw. No, that's one of my talents. No, yeah, like so yeah. What I recollect, like retrospectively in that way, I don't know that I could come up with anything particularly interesting to say about how it holds up. I mean, I guess you could think about how like the premise of like a board game movie and the game making things happen in real life, and in this particular case, like what I remember, like animals running around like the city streets and that kind of stuff. Off the top of my head, that seems relatively like it still seems like it's not an overdone premise. It's not an overdone concept, whether it's because I remember like, I don't know, a few years ago, like 10 plus years ago, I watched a movie. It was a board game movie where the premise was like, it was like a horror or a thriller where like you played the board game and like it killed you. And like, so of course, and it was, I don't know what it was called, like Play, Die. I don't know. And play the game and die. That's the movie. And,
I'll watch it.
but no, so like, but yeah, it's not an overdone thing. So anyway, in that sense, I would say like the point that I would make is that probably the premise of Jumanji is like still relatively unique. so many years later. And certainly amongst movies that like were widely considered entertaining and like financially successful, which I don't know Jumanji's like specific history with financial success, but it's so like relatively well known. I'd imagine that Jumanji like did well, both financially and just that it is like a quote unquote household name, a classic. But yeah, no, a lot of the sentiments you said about like it being such a 90s movie and like, yeah, just watching those first 20 minutes, which was pretty much all about the kid actors, right? So I watched up until the introduction of Kirsten Dunst and her brother, and so it was basically just kids with like the occasional injection of adults here and there, and it was like it when you said 90s movie, it kind of reminded me of It, and how like how the focus, and again, just because like, yeah, specifically because of the kids and also the writing. So the like the kids' dialogue right off at the top of the movie with that whatever it was, the 1800s at the opening, those two boys, and oh man, that when their scene ends with the younger brother asking what happens if somebody digs it up, and then the older brother has this dramatic shot where he like turns to the camera, but his face is like almost dead, and like he's seen like 50 years worth of like horrors, and he's just like, may God have mercy on their souls. And but it's this kid, right? He doesn't have a gritty voice. He has this kid voice. So I thought, like, I burst out laughing when I saw that. And kind of consistently in those first 20 minutes, I kept bursting out laughing at the way the kids are like saying their lines. And again, it wasn't bad. It wasn't like, it was almost what it reminded me of is like kids playing adults, which is why I was thinking of It, because It kind of has that vibe where it's like, hey, this story is about kids anyway, so we're going to write these kids, and not that they weren't written realistically, we're going to write these kids in a way that kind of like what you were saying, Matt, it's like for kids and adults. Like adults can watch these movies, or this movie in particular, and get stuff not just because of the thriller aspect and the fear aspect and stuff, but also potentially from the way the kids are talking and some of the jokes they say, like, and not unknowingly, right? Like the kid turning to the camera and saying, may God have mercy on your soul. Like, as a kid, I don't think I'd find that funny, but as an adult, I find that funny. And anyway, but yeah, then the young Robin Williams' interactions with young Sarah, that like brief scene was quite funny. There's a line, I wrote it down. What did she say? She says, oh yeah, because the pieces start moving on their own, and then young Robin Williams says, like, look, Sarah, and oh yeah, no, what happens is, so that happens, and then they try to close the game, and he chucks the dice, the dice, and he says, oh no, the game thinks I rolled. And then Sarah has the line, what do you mean the game thinks? And it just struck me that like she's calling out the concept of a game thinking, but a kid wouldn't do that. A kid wouldn't have that thought. A kid wouldn't call out this idea of like, that's such a strange idea that a game, an inanimate object, has thoughts in its structure. But that's what the line is. What do you mean the game thinks? And it's a hilarious, well-written line. So anyway, point is I found it notable that the kids were sort of written in that way, and it was reminiscent of the 90s and even of the like It reboot, right? It's reminiscent of good movies that star and focus on kids. And again, there's not that this movie does star and focus on kids, but it does for the first 20 minutes. So and then otherwise, did I know anything else? No, there's just a lot of comedy there. There's a lot of like the shouting match between the father and not young. Is it? Oh yeah, it is still young Robin Williams. Yeah.
You thought that was funny?
Oh, it was hilarious.
No, it was so sad.
It's so melodramatic though. Like
exactly, it's melodramatic. It's like he's the father. He could do. He's a young boy. Like, I mean, not that I advocate for this, but I'm a child of East European parents. Like, if I yelled at my parents when I was his age, like, it wouldn't result in my parents storming off to go out for the night and leaving me in my mansion. So like this like scene where the father, and again, brilliant actors, like the father is like in this scene, he starts tremoring, he starts like, he's like, oh, but the son's gonna make me cry or whatever, and it's like that whole scene is such, and that like those elements are just they're funny, they're amusing to me.
I totally agree with you, Alex. Like, and I think that's why, like, I really like Kristen Dunst's character, just the way that her character is written to deal with her parents' death. Like when she's talking to the realtor at the beginning, and like she makes up this wild story. I'm like, that is intelligent writing, and I think that's very indicative of kids' movies from the 90s. That it's so like there's like this sass that you haven't seen from children characters before.
Yeah,
and it's just so refreshing, and it's so much fun, and it makes it watchable for adults.
Yeah, that's the point. That's the point that I was trying to make. Thank you.
Well done. Well said. Yeah. Let's quickly jump into the comments here. Fun fact: mosquitoes kill more people per year than any other living creature. I was happier before I knew that. Martha says she didn't know that. I didn't even know my mom was allergic to mosquito bites. It's not fatal. Good to know. So, well, you swell terribly, and that's what happens when everyone gets bitten by mosquitoes, Martha. That's how it goes. That's what they do. Next, they carry so many diseases. Well, yeah, I was terrified of West Nile virus, like in grade 7 and 8, because it was like just making all the headlines as a thing, and it kind of just triggered me to be scared of bugs in general. Like when ticks were a huge thing a couple years ago in 2018, even as an adult, I was just like, I don't want to go outside. I don't want the ticks. And all this stuff about like have a credit card ready and be ready to. No. That also made me think of The Mummy, another great 90s movie that just creature fear.
I'll talk all day about The Mummy. You call me for that mummy movie.
Well, there has been talk of a Brandon Fraser movie marathon. So if and when that happens, The Mummy will be
Bedazzled.
George of the Jungle.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
It would probably be George of the Jungle, Bedazzled, Blast from the Past, and The Mummy, because so good. He has such a good body of work. We love Brandon Fraser. We love him, but he's not in this movie. So Jumanji. Something that I really stood out to me, which we've kind of touched on, is that I feel like this movie, it kind of came under fire, I think, for having too simple of a premise, but that's something that I personally really like about it. And I do think the melodramatic elements that made Alex laugh, so I personally really like them, because it's just the actors commit to it. So like I commit to it as an audience member, and I love that. But I feel like under all of that, this movie has a really cool through line just of addressing trauma in different ways, like just kind of comparing what Alan's character goes through compared to Sarah's character as kids. And like I love that scene when she says, you don't know what it was like having to grow up like me, and then he says, I was in the jungle, and she's like, but I had to deal with you disappearing. And then just that conversation to me really stood out, just realizing like probably Alan might have had it worse in the jungle, because literally he was fighting for his life against things that could kill him at every turn. But then that doesn't diminish what Sarah went through, which also would have been really traumatic. And then you pair that with the trauma of the kids losing their parents, which to me as a kid never really clicked in the way that it does now, just realizing that like all 4 of these characters are so damaged, and through the game they're not just like overcoming fears, but they're, I think, dealing with their own stuff, which is really beautiful. But yeah, how do we all feel this movie does at addressing trauma or not addressing trauma?
I mean, I don't think it was evident as a kid, but now it was so evident, the parallel of Sarah and Alan, and then Judy and Peter, of what you were saying, Matt. So Judy and Peter, I mean, Alan and Sarah had that conversation, but before Judy and Peter started playing the game, they had that conversation in bed, where Peter said to Judy, if you keep making up stories like that, they're going to send you away. And she said to him, if you don't start talking, what do you think they're going to do to you? And I thought, wow, like, again, I don't know if that's what kids would say to each other. I don't know if that's like something that they would be so perceptive towards, but they've dealt with the same thing, losing their parents, and they're dealing with it differently. And that, I think, is a really important thing to note when it comes to trauma. Like, not everyone experiences trauma the same, even if it's the same situation. And and then there's like this weird parallel of they're all experiencing the same trauma with like the game coming alive, and like they have like Peter turning into a monkey, and then like them escaping from the colonel, like, but like they're making light of it. And there's this catharsis that I think is so important, that's juxtaposed from Sarah and Alan's disappearance and all of that. Like, that's so sad. And then the equally as sad parents dying. So I think the like the trauma element is so well done, and it's taken care of in a really good way for the audience to be like, oh, like we can explore this together. So yeah,
and like I think it really comes to a head with Van Pelt, who I think is such a fascinating character. And I also just love how they pulled a Peter Pan and just like double cast him as the dad, which I think is so brilliant. And so yeah, it's the same guy. Yeah, it's the dad.
Oh my god.
Oh, did you not know? I love that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that changes everything.
Oh my god. Like, what does that change? Tell me. Give me your thoughts.
No, well, it's the whole it's the Peter Pan phenomenon of the meanness of the dad being like just emphasized to the colonel to the point of like terror.
Yes.
But it's interesting because when they go back in time, I mean, I guess it's the same thing in Peter Pan. When they go back to the new timeline, that's how I see it now. He's nice. Like, the dad is nice. He's sweet to Alan. Anyway, I just find that's beautiful. I that just creates another beautiful connection to the story I didn't realize before. I like that.
As do I. So I'm sending a link to our next guest. I was listening. Fantastic points. There we go. Boom. Alex T-Ty, what are your thoughts on, because I know that you said that was one of the characters that you remembered from watching it, even though you didn't make it to that point in the film. But yeah, just what are your thoughts on that character in terms of either what he represents, or why do you think he's one of the things that stood out to you in your memory of the movie?
The Colonel, the villain?
Yeah. Van Pelt.
Yeah, no, and I was nodding when you said that, because I can, even though I haven't gone to that point, like I haven't seen his face, probably from around 20 years. That when you mentioned that it's the same actor, I could see his face. Like I could recognize, because I saw the dad's face earlier today, so I could create that. Yeah. So, and it's points I already made, but about that character, I think from what I can vaguely recollect, like he had that actor, and I don't know if it was the actor or the cinematography, but like that character looks in certain shots like scary. Yeah. And so, yeah, whether that's a testament to the actor's ability, the cinematography, or everything kind of working together, that's stuff that I remember, and that I think is I always think that's cool. I think it's cool when you can get somebody who's not like exceptionally, because there are characters who are scary because they're like very big, or they're very ugly, or horrific looking, and I don't mean ugly as a pejorative. I just mean like they look horrifying, or whatever. But yeah, no. And whenever characters can kind of creep you out or make you afraid by virtue of like their expression and their intention via their expression, that's always something cool. Yeah. No, and otherwise it was all, yeah. I certainly couldn't comment on the trauma stuff at this point, but it was a very interesting points that you guys were making, and I
thank you.
No, but I think just to say like those, because yeah, it's just to underline, right, to emphasize the utility of understanding that, like you were saying, Lisa, people can experience the same trauma and differently, right? The same exact physical circumstances can occur to two different people, and the consequences of that can be different for those two different people. And like you were saying, Matt, that point with, I guess, Alan and Sarah, where it was like, I've been in the jungle for 26 years. It's like, well, yeah, but I've been missing you for 26 years. And it's like, and on superficially, we might say, oh yeah, like being in the jungle, fighting for your life every day, that's got to be worse, right? But it's like, sure, on some level, but on another level, your life is all about survival. That's kind of easy to an extent. It's easy in terms of your life is simple. It's like black and white. Like
that's all you have to focus on. Like,
yeah, like
it's hard. It's very hard and terrifying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sarah didn't have like her friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a totally different problem, and a problem that is arguably more complicated than the problem of running from tree to tree and hiding from the big bad monster for your life. Again, not totally hard and physically exhausting and whatever, but then the psychological and again, I'm not actually necessarily comparing surviving in a jungle for 26 years to missing your friend, but the context is, but if there's if missing somebody who is very close to you, if you think somebody who you loved was died, that can be very traumatic.
Well, like she had said that she worked through it with her therapist and came to the conclusion that his dad murdered him and like was in the walls. And so for her to believe that
as her coping mechanism, that's what's so messed up. Like that to her was more comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah, than the reality of the game.
And like that's a problem that like we shouldn't have therapists gaslighting their clients
True.
at all. Like that is bad. But it's like if you are disassociating to that point, that's awful. And then to see your friend again after 2016, like
yeah, yeah, all that world that you've created.
Yeah,
to deal with that issue is now so that's, I think that's also a very like useful thing to be aware of, right? When you do come across, whether it's your own or other people's trauma, like these are very important useful things that can help you really understand or relate or make productive choices.
Yeah, and I don't think
I just wanted to quickly comment on the Colonel and like how it was also like so nice to see a colonial figurehead be like the villain and like them defeating him. Like I was like, yes. But I'm also very confused by his origin, and I think my partner Vince can comment in the chat if I'm wrong, but like he has a German last name, and he had noticed that his uniform was like French, and so it was like a very like, where are you from then, Peltz? Like yeah.
Interesting. Well, then almost makes me wonder if Alan Parrish is like half German, half French. It would all make sense. Yeah, but not like I love like all the obvious psychological links between the thing that scares Alan the most being the human that is reminiscent of his dad. Like it's a little on the nose, but in the way that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Dramatically and narratively. And yeah, just to bring it back to Sarah, that was something that just had so much more resonance for me now. Just questioning, like having to not assume, but like realizing how much she had to deal with in terms of questioning her own sanity, like within the reality of this film. If you do actually witness something that's that crazy, like bats attacking you and your friend going into a board game, like
that whole like hand
snapping.
Oh my god, terrifying. Nightmares for weeks.
Oh. And it's so interesting just how thinking about how in the 60s she was like the popular girl seemingly, or the one who had a lot of friends, and how easy it was for just the entire community to turn on her. Very, very believable, very sad, but yeah. Oh, we have a special guest who's about to join us. Hold on, here we go. People, very sad, but look, it's Libby. Oh, we have a special guest. Oh, I can hear myself now.
Oh, hold on.
Okay. No, very sad, but look, it's Libby.
Oh, I'm a special guest. I can hear myself fast. Oh, hold on.
I'm in Jumanji.
I love the delay.
Yeah.
I'm a special guest. I can hear myself fast. Oh, hold on.
I'm in Jumanji.
I love the delay.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're done. I think. Oh, the
Did it
delay
work?
is gone. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
She's
Okay.
plugged in now.
We're out of Jumanji. Wonderful. Libby, welcome. Welcome to the jungle. Brilliant. Okay. So everyone, this is Libby from Punzi's Palace. Libby, thank you for joining us. So happy to have you for your Teacup Movie Club debut. So Libby, yeah, just tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your channel. Tell us who Libby is.
Hold on.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm Libby. I do Disney stuff on my channel. And yeah, that's about it.
Brilliant. Well, I'm excited that we can have you today. So just to kind of, I guess, catch you up, we're talking about Jumanji, which clearly you know, but kind of the opening question I have for all the guests when they join, what did this movie mean to you as a kid? Is it a movie that was like a big part of your childhood? And then to follow that up, how do you find it holds up for you now as an adult revisiting it?
So I watched this movie a lot as a kid, not like every single weekend, but I did watch it quite a lot as a kid growing up, just because it's an enjoyable kids movie, and also it has Robin Williams, and as a kid, I love Robin Williams. So it was really enjoyable in that aspect, just watching it that way. And I think I never really watched it growing up as a kid in like a movie critic kind of way. I just was like, ooh, fun animals. This is a fun time. Oh, Robin Williams is doing something funny. That's a fun time. But then like the older I got, the more I realized just how good the movie is and how relatable it can be to a kid who has a strained relationship with a parent, or two siblings who have a strained relationship with their parents respectively as well. I think it's something that you can relate to a lot more as you grow up, and it's not just a movie that's just fun about animals. It's something a little bit deeper than that.
Well said. So yeah, well, I guess we kind of discussed it, but let's like dive into the parental element here. Like, what do we think this movie is saying about relationships with parents or lack of relationships with parents? Because something that I think is really interesting that I guess we kind of brought up a second ago or a couple minutes ago was that when Alan comes back into his present, he's able to make up with his dad pretty quickly, even though from his dad's perspective, nothing has changed from the fight. Like, he doesn't have the same growth that Alan has had in so far as like losing his dad, living an entire adult life, and then realizing that he should appreciate his family and kind of mend the bridges. But his dad is so open, I think, to making amends, even though he was so angry and like screaming at him just a couple minutes earlier. So just what are our thoughts about what the movie is saying in that respect about parental relationships? Like, is it a miscommunication thing? Is it about being open? Like, do parents need to be so scary to the point where they manifest in the jungle as literal hunters who want to kill you?
I think for me watching it now, I do the aspect of how Alan, Robin Williams's character, was starting to treat Peter as his dad was like funny but also sad to me in the way of like, oh, we all grew up to be one of our parents or both of our parents, and like breaking that cycle. And I think that's what, like, in like written wise, that's what they do when he goes back as a kid and he confronts his dad being like, I'm sorry. And the father is like, okay, we'll talk man to man later. And he's like, no, well, can we talk father to son? And like that was like so heartwarming and like part of breaking this cycle of how I'm sure like back then in the 60s, parents were in it, and still now, like, there is this there's this authority figure that you could put on as a parent. And I'm not saying everybody does that, but it can be harmful for a kid, and not realizing the vulnerability that a kid brings to that parent-child relationship. It's I think they dealt with it really beautifully. I do think it's like a stretch to be like manifesting your fears as your parent in the jungle. But it's nice to see that reflection happen in those dialogues between Alan and Peter, and then Alan and his father later. So
Well said. Alex, Libby, what are your thoughts on parent-child relationships in the movie?
Well, I think of what we talked about before about the kids being sort of written. I don't know if I made this point specifically, but kids being written almost like adults. And so in that sense, I think this movie, it, like, one of its themes seemed to be this idea that kids don't like, that parents tend to treat children as stereotypical children and tend to treat the things that they say as, you know, things that a child would say, as opposed to treating children and what they say as like human, you know, regular people with their own particular circumstances. So of course, you know, I would never advocate to treat, you know, like a 6-year-old as a fully, you know, developed, informed human. But, you know, on the other hand, I think that this movie is kind of, you know, and I don't think it's a big part of the movie, but I think part of it is this sort of idea that, like, no, like, you can, you know, as opposed to just saying, son, you know, you got to face your fear, you know, platitude over, go have at it. It's like, no, you can, this is even though they're small and not fully formed, let's say, they still have, you know, thoughts and complicated ideas in their heads. And so it's worth it to take a bit of time and say, hey, son, try to do your best. Tell me what's going on. You know, what exactly are you afraid of? Who exactly are you afraid of? What's going on? How are you feeling? And then, you know, on the other side of it, to communicate a bit more comprehensively, rather, to your children, right? And rather than just tell them, you know, don't worry about it, or just do this or that, or this is right, this is wrong. Maybe get into it a little bit more, and a little bit more like, hey, son, like, let's sit down and talk, and or whatever. Hey, daughter. Hey, person, whoever you are, let's talk. So yeah.
Libby, what do you think? Parent-child relationships in Jumanji.
Well, I kind of wanted to go a little bit off of what Alex said about how a lot of the children in the movie were written more like adults, and you can especially see it with, I forget her character's name, but Kirsten Dunst's character, as the little girl. She often plays into the fact that adults will undermine her and think that she's just a dumb kid. And I feel like that's a theme that you see in a lot of different kind of kids movies, is that kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. It's not just, you know, the adult writers writing for the movie doing that. It's also applicable in real life. Kids pick up on a lot more than we think they do. They understand a lot more about the world than we think they do. Sometimes they understand it a little bit better than we do, just because the world's simpler in their minds. So I feel like because of that, it was able to make Alan's relationship kind of come to the surface a little bit more, if that makes sense. Like, he was still stuck developmentally as a kid, being stuck in the jungle, and then he has to kind of be forced to parent a little bit, and he sees how easy that can be, but also how hard it can be at the same time. And so in his still like kid mind, he's able to then take those lessons back to whenever he meets his dad again at the end. And so it's able to see like how a kid's mind can understand more complex emotions and situations than an adult's mind can usually. And it's not his dad going through the jungle and then realizing, oh, I've been such a fool to my kid. It was the kid doing that, even though he was kind of the victim in the situation anyway.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. He definitely, I think, stepped up to be the more mature person in that relationship between the two of them, and that was just, I think, what the dad needed as well, because like as we find out, like once Alan is gone in that reality, the first reality, then it just like destroys his father. So you know that the love is there, and I guess just that like extension of the olive branch at the end sort of brings out the empathy in him that he had trouble accessing before. So yeah, that is, it's such a good movie. I love it. So
I do want to give a shout out though to Aunt Nora.
Oh my god, yeah.
That like had to take care of Judy and Peter, because like her brother or sister was like, "Can you be the godparents to our children?" She's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And they die. And she's like, "Wow, I have to take care of these kids." And like she was doing a good job. I think she was doing a good job. So shout out to Aunt Nora.
Shout out to Aunt Nora. And like like considering that she lost a sibling and had to become a parent, and she's like flipping a house, being a solid business person, at the same time dealing with Kirsten Dunst and all of her antics with her lies and everything. Like, yeah, shout out to Aunt Nora. We love her. And I do like that she was a little bit more active in the story than I remembered. So that was fantastic. To dial back to something really great that Libby said about how Alan is essentially a kid in an adult's body, just because like he had to focus on survival for 26 years as opposed to actually growing up. And since it is the Robin Williams movie marathon, a question that I want to keep asking for all these movies is, what do we think Robin specifically brought to the role and brought to the movie that we might have missed out on with another performer? Like, I think it's the Robin Williams vulnerability that really shines in this role. And that element, like Libby said about him, pretty well just playing a kid as an adult, which was kind of a through line with a lot of Robin Williams roles, especially Jack, mostly Jack. But in this case, I do think just that kind of innocent mentality that Robin portrayed so beautifully and so naturally comes to a head in this role and allows it to shine, just alongside with how mature he was at the same time. I just think he suits the needs for this character brilliantly. Yeah, but what are our other thoughts? What do we think Robin brings to the movie, to the role?
A great beard.
Yes. I doubt he grew it on his own, but yes.
He wore it. Right.
Yeah. I will say, so Jake last week mentioned that Robin Williams in the Dead Poets Society was his Equus, which I thought was like a hilarious comment. But I think this is his Equus. Like it's still him doing what he's good at, but it's that childlike curiosity, and it's that like you're saying, Matt, that vulnerability. But I do think I don't know what it is specifically, and I don't know if it's his technique or if it's just his like skill and talent as a person, but it's his expressions in this movie that get me. Like there's that still child essence in his face. Like when he not so much when he still has the beard, but when he like comes out from to having his hair cut and his beard shaven, and he's just like looking at Kirsten Dunst and she's like, "Oh, it's you," and he's like, "You like it?" Like
it's one of my favorite parts of the movie.
The like little cute boy face, you can still see it in his like grown man expression, and it's gorgeous. It's like so captivating that you're like, what is he gonna do next? Like you're seeing the world through his eyes. Like you see, like when you have kids or when you're with kids, you see the world through their eyes for them, like experiencing something at the like first time. So, yeah, I think it's his childlike joie de vivre or whatever it is. That I couldn't see anyone else playing this role like him.
Yeah.
Well said. Any other thoughts on Robin in the
Well,
role?
I looked up a few Jumanji fun facts before just
Love
to be
this.
prepared.
Nice.
And they actually had Tom Hanks was the person they wanted.
Actually, I was thinking about that just as
Really?
I was saying.
And then they had like a slew of other people before they finally landed on Robin Williams. And like, I can't imagine Jumanji without it being him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just because he has that little, like, he has that sparkle that you see in like a kid's eye when you first take them to Disney World. And he has that kind of all the time. And you can especially see it like in his smiles whenever he's acting. He knows how to get that pure joy and like show off that pure joy. It's not a forced smile. It's he's happy. He's enjoying his work kind of thing. And I think what's also another fun fact is that he actually didn't do as much improv on the set for Jumanji as he does some of his other films. And that was because they wanted him to be a more focused actor on this film because it was like a set script. And so in order to get that out of his system, he would do like hours long of comedy shows before going to the set. So he would get all of the jokes, all the funny out of him, and then just be ready to act and just do his job as Alan. So I thought that was really fun.
So cute.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
I'm like looking up Tom Hanks right now because I'm like, he was in Big. And
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
what I
that's
thought
what I was
too.
thinking of Big when you were talking about all those elements of Robin. Not that I think they're equivalent, but it just
it's
reminded
just
me.
different. It's just a different quality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but I can like fully see this movie with Tom Hanks, and it would
Yeah.
be different, but I can like I think it would be just as good because I was struggling. Like I was going to ask who do we think could have played this role aside from Robin Williams, which I guess I'll still ask. Tom Hanks is definitely a contender. Now he's the only person that I can think of.
Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, well, that's who it probably would be now.
Jack Black would be a contender.
There you go. Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if we want to make that transition, has anyone seen the new movies with Jack Black?
I saw it years ago when it like first came out in the theaters, and I don't remember like it having the same effect on me because there isn't a Robin Williams character. Like there's like The Rock, Jack Black, and then like a few others, and I feel like they like try to give each of them, or they're written to have aspects of Alan's character, but like it's not the same. That's how I remembered it.
Like I think
Yeah.
I appreciate that the new movies are completely their own thing and their own franchise. And I think that's the smart move, and they made the right move. And the movies are decent and they're fine. After having rewatched the original and then like going back to the new ones, I don't think there's any comparison. I just think the original is so good and has so much more depth to it than the new ones, because the new ones are just they're fun action movies and that's what they're meant to be. But one thing that really sort of threw me about the new movies is that in the original film there's all this build up to the jungle of Jumanji being the most terrifying place where like all of your rational and irrational fears are just brought to life and personified, and you just like see snippets of it work their way into our like everyday life. And I guess that is part of why it's so much scarier. But in the new movies, it's just a fun video game, and like the danger is more comedic, and that's definitely the style that they were going for. But it ruined the primal fear element that I love of Jumanji so much. But like just what I thought was so interesting when we said Jack Black is when I was rewatching the new movie yesterday or the day before, I was just so taken at how good his performance is in a way that I think is easy to overlook, because he's playing a teenage girl, which is in very surface ways like just the thing that's played for laughs, but he commits to it, and like the level of commitment that he makes is outstanding. Like I'm watching it just so linking him to the girl that we see for like 5 minutes at the beginning that it's supposed to be, and it's just such a good performance for a lot of the same reasons that we're saying about Robin Williams, because there's just this genuine authenticity to it, I think. Plus he just dials into the nuances of that actress in a way that just makes it really enduring, in my opinion. But yeah, like I think the performances of the new movie are one of the stronger things, because they do have a really good cast. Like I love, what's her name, Karen Gillian from Doctor Who / yeah, she's fantastic. And I mean, The Rock is who he is, but he does what he does really well, so it works. But yeah, from what we know or remember, how do we feel about the reboots as a continuation of the Jumanji franchise?
I like how you left out Kevin Hart from that list.
Oh yeah, Kevin's there too. Oh, I also left out Joe Jonas. He's around.
Yeah, he's around.
Nick Jonas.
Nick Jonas.
Oh, is it Nick? Oh, what? They're all
Yes,
the same. One of the Jonai.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in forever, but I don't know if having the board game turn into a video game has the same effect. And I know like they're both games, they're both things that kids spend time with, but there's this creepy element to something that's not creepy, which is a board game. Like a board game shouldn't do that to you. A video game, because of Black Mirror and all of these like VR reality horror things, like it kind of, I'm like, okay, yeah, like I could get sucked into a video game from like just all the narratives that I've been ingesting. So I think there's like a different type of novelty that comes with it being a board game instead of a video game. It's still a cool, fun concept of being like transported to a video game and being stuck there. But yeah, there's a different quality to the narrative when you add that type of technology. Yeah. It becomes less mystical and magical. And maybe that's what I was missing from the new reboots.
Yeah, and I think it loses the simplicity that makes the original movie so good and scary. Like even the simplicity of the board game, like it's just a very clear objective and a very clear goal. They have to finish the game and get to the end and say Jumanji, and that's it. Like just roll the dice. It's like I was saying earlier about how I just love that is the structure, and it's so simple of like a case of if one of them isn't in the room and can't play, then they have to find them to keep the game going. But if you're in a video game structure, it's a lot more convoluted. Like there are levels and there is still an objective, but it doesn't have that same linear structure of like you roll the dice and then there's a new thing that's just going to screw with you in the house. And I personally love that. But yeah, Libby, what do you think about the reboots as part of the Jumanji franchise?
It's my guilty pleasure. I love the reboots, honestly. Nice. But it's like you said, you can't really compare the two because they're two completely separate things. Because everything about the reboot of Jumanji, like everything is made for a teenage audience and for a teenage audience to enjoy, whereas the original Jumanji is very much a family-friendly film. It's supposed to be for, kids and their parents to enjoy together, and that can include a teenager, but it's more about like the family unit enjoying it. Whereas I feel like the new Jumanji, from the casting of like Kevin Hart and The Rock and everything, those are very much like teenagers love those kinds of actors. It's video games, teenagers like video games. It's a little bit more about the action and about like the adventure instead of it being about like the heart of the film being about relationship bonding and stuff like that. Like there's a little bit of it, but that's not the main like draw to the film. It was all about the action and the fun of it, and like, oh, you remember that movie you may have watched when you were like really little? Let's bring it up to date now. And so I feel like with all that in mind, it's very good at being a teenage driven movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's very fun and good in that aspect. And it surprises me, like when I watched it, I was expecting it to be terrible. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, it's not going to be anything like the original. It's going to be terrible. And it's nothing like the original. But it does its own thing. It did its own thing pretty well. And that's
like I like how it's kind of like Breakfast Club in a video game that's trying to kill them. Yeah.
I like that. I mean, I like that it's not trying to remake it. It's like nobody is trying to be Robin Williams. And that's what makes me angry about remakes or reboots. Of like, oh, you're trying to be this person who's done it so iconically. Or you're trying to redo a film that's already been done and it's like already great as it is. Like, I appreciate this new franchise because they don't try to copy it. It's a new thing. So like, I totally agree with you, Libby. It stands on its own. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
We have here Kristen says, it says Bobby, how do I say his last name? Cannavale? I know who the actor is. I adore him. He was in a movie. Well, he's been in lots of movies. I can't remember the name of it now. He was in a movie in a supporting role that I really loved with Al Pacino. And Al Pacino was like his dad, who was a rock star who abandoned him, but then wanted to work his way back into his life as an adult. Anyway, that's the role that made me fall in love with Bobby.
He's in 9 Perfect Strangers, which is like one of my favorite Amazon Prime shows.
I need to watch that. I've never heard of it, but I love him, and I love Amazon Prime. Yeah, Kristen says he was her favorite part of the remake because he got to be scary. And I do think he does scary very well. Very well. I think the Jumanji reboots are just so interesting because it's so meta that Jumanji has to turn into a video game to appeal to the new generation of kids. And that's exactly what these movies are. They had
Yeah.
to totally overhaul what it was to appeal to the movie going generation now.
Mhm.
And yeah, no, like, and I do fully appreciate that they didn't try to redo the original movie. And I think the great thing about the original film is that you can't redo it because, like, the beauty of it is just so encapsulated in that one narrative.
Yeah.
And it's so simple that you can't repeat it or else it's going to be redundant. But like, do it once and do it well, and it's great. Did anyone see Zathura, which is like Jumanji in space?
Yes.
No. Whoa,
Oh,
what?
Yeah, it's directed by Jon Favreau, like right before or right after Iron Man.
Oh my god.
And it's the exact same concept, but instead of jungle, it is space. And I read an interview where he said that he didn't like the original Jumanji, which, like, I clutched my pearls. How can you not, John? Because you're a visionary director. You should recognize a good movie.
Mhm.
Or maybe the problem's me, but I don't think it is. But no, he said he wanted his Jumanji movie, to be more exploring the relationships between siblings who can't get along and how they have to be brought together through whatever. I'm like, are you diminishing this beautiful study of trauma from the original Jumanji, Jon Favreau? But anyway, yeah, it's about two brothers who play a space game.
He was the director of the new Lion King, right?
Yeah.
Enough said.
I mean, I like how out there he is, and sometimes his risks pay off. I don't like Elf, but I know I'm wrong. Everyone else likes Elf. So he gave us Elf.
I like Iron Man.
Oh yeah, and Iron Man. Like, he gave us the MCU. So I have respect for artists who take big risks. Some pay off and change things. Other times you get Jumanji in space. But Libby, what do you think of Jumanji in space, of Zathura? I remember it actually being a fun movie. I just don't think it's as good as Jumanji.
Yeah, I remember actually seeing it in theaters too, and
Nice.
I think I was right. I was like at the perfect age to watch Zathura in theaters because I was like right around Josh Hutchinson's age, who's like the older brother, who's like he's like 10. He's baby. I was baby. So I think it worked out really well for that because I'm the youngest sibling, and I think it did a really good job of showing off younger and older sibling like relationships. And he does a good job of focusing on that and exploring that, and I think that was done really well. It's very much the same structure of Jumanji, where it's like the kid wants this board game and they start playing it, and then all of a sudden they're in space and they're like, what do we do? And all of these things happen and they're trying not to die. And I think it's like it goes a bit too far, whereas in Jumanji, like all of these jungle things are happening, and like that can't happen, but like jungles do live on Earth.
Yeah.
Like elephants can come. It's unlikely, but elephants could come.
Yeah.
Whereas they're immediately like their house is in space. It's like, how are the lights still on? How's the stove working still? Like their older sister is also in the movie, which is played by Kristen Stewart. Hilarious.
Yes.
And she like doesn't understand that anything's happening until like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
That
So
part
it's
was
like
hilarious.
it's very out there with all of that. But I think it's just it's still charming, but not in the same way as Jumanji is like a good film and it's charming and it's fun. It was just like that was cute. Okay. Yeah.
I kind of want to rewatch it now. Maybe I will.
Yeah.
But I guess
Just
just
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart. And Dax Shepard is also in it as well. As
Yeah.
an astronaut. I don't want to give spoilers as
Oh my
to
God,
the
this is
character
like
he plays,
such-
but
Like a stacked cast.
I
What?
know.
It's a good cast.
I don't know how it wasn't on my radar when it came out, but I discovered it waywardly through like Wikipedia a couple years ago and watched it. And yeah, it was fine. It was there. It was a movie, which does, I think, interestingly bridge the era of Jumanji to Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle or Jumanji The Next Level. So how do we feel these movies, original and the franchise, do we think they reflect how filmmaking has changed? Because I think they do. I can't articulate it, but I feel like a movie like original Jumanji wouldn't be made now, similar to how last week we were saying Dead Poet Society wouldn't be made now in the way that it was made then. Like, yeah, I think we've lost mainstream nuanced films in some ways, like movies that can be this entertaining but still have some level of depth to them, for lack of a better term. I don't know. Like, what do we think about movies now versus movies then? Alex T. Ty, what do you have thoughts? You're stroking your chin.
Yeah, no, I think like I keep going back. I went back to the remake of It, as an example of modern movies that, in my mind, they kind of take what worked from older movies and they modernize them, which isn't necessarily like a particularly like revolutionary point. I think it kind of boils down to like probably the mainstream movies today, most of them are kind of, or seemingly are, appealing to the lowest common denominator type thing, where they're trying to be as entertaining as cheaply as possible, and cheaply doesn't refer necessarily to the money, just refers to the tactics and styles and all that stuff, the techniques used to entertain people and engage them. Whereas something like Jumanji and a lot of movies that we think of fondly from older eras, their tactics seem to rely on like the writing and the characters and cinematography. There are a lot of movies, modern movies that differ and seem to rely on easier things like whatever star power, things like that. I mean, yeah, there are so many like bad movies in the past 10 years. Bad, and not in that they're horrible, but just like not very good quality, that are stacked casts. It's like, oh, I mean, I don't know, even something like Taken, which I like Taken. I like the Taken series, to go on this tangent with me. I love Liam Neeson and I enjoy the Taken movies, but like, especially after the first one, but even the first one, like, they're not good movies. They're objectively, and I would argue, I'm not an all-knowing entity, but I would argue that their writing is not of a great quality. And they don't have to be. Not every movie has to be the greatest movie ever, but I would argue that they're like relatively poor when it comes to a lot of these sort of objective standards that we might analyze when it comes to films. But yeah, at the same token, there are modern movies, diamonds in the rough, as it were, that still do have a lot of depth, a lot of great characters, but are still modern. They don't feel like 90s movies, even if they're, and again, not to say that 90s was the golden age of filmmaking as well. But
99 was debatably like one of the best years in cinematic history.
Sure, absolutely. But I mean,
that's just 99 though.
Yeah. Godzilla. I think Godzilla came out in 99, right?
Yep, that's it. That's the one.
That's the one. That's the classic. Yeah. That's the gold standard. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, I would say, and I mean, I haven't seen the modern Jumanji movies, so like, I mean, but the things you guys have said about them are actually quite intriguing. I actually really want to see Jack Black in the role that you described, and
like it's not a waste of time to watch those movies, in my opinion. Like,
I mean, I totally, when I saw them coming out, I was like, oh, I vaguely remember that movie that I watched growing up, and I remember that I enjoyed it for what it was, but yeah, like, I just, from my context, I had no interest. I was like, yeah, I'm never going to see this new movie, because like, there are a billion movies released each year. Well, I'm going to take the time to watch this one. I have a list. I have a backlog of last 10 years or 20 years of movies that I need to catch up on. But anyway, based on what I've heard tonight, I'm interested. So
yeah, no, be interested. Even the sequel I enjoyed. Like, Awkwafina's in it. I love her. Danny DeVito and Danny Glover. They're fantastic. and their story is surprisingly more poignant than I expected it to be. So yeah, see it. It's good. But yeah, Lisa or Libby, what are your thoughts on how movies were made then versus now?
I mean, to be quite honest, like, I've been in like knee deep in reality TV shows, so I'm
me too. The Circle, love it.
Oh my god, me too. Oh, yes, Circle. I'm binging it right now. No, but I mean, in terms of like my movie watching things that I've done recently, I don't know. There's a part of me that feels like there is a type of, I don't know if it's like I would say sloppy or just like the formula is not there, or they're trying too hard to establish a formula, or maybe it's just because I'm not a kid anymore. I don't know. There's like something that the production houses are missing nowadays. And I think it has something to do with kind of what Lauren and Jake were saying last week about how much they love Touchstone movies for Dead Poet Society. There is a type of, there's a quality with Jumanji and other movies like this, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or
Same director.
there you go. Even like I would even categorize, and I know people don't like this franchise, but like I love Spy Kids, and Spy Kids really kind of like is in the same, like under the same umbrella as Jumanji to me. That like, I don't know, like adventurous kid movies that are like well written and like well acted, and just I don't know. I don't know, because Jumanji the reboot is for teens. Like I wouldn't say it's a kids movie. I'm talking about like like kids, like from 7 or 8 to like 12, 13. Thank you, Aubrey, for thinking Spy Kids is amazing as well.
Yes. I love, well, Spy Kids 1, maybe 2. 3
Yeah.
was a waste of 3D technology.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so I'm like, what is that, like that age range from 8 to 13? Like, I don't know if there's that intelligence of writing from the writers, and maybe it's that underestimation of, oh, kids are not that intelligent. Maybe, I don't know, but I wish there was a type of care that movie makers had in the 90s for kids movies that in 2020s they would have now. I think they're just putting a lot of their money into the MCU, which is fine. Like that's fun, but you know, I want a good old Jumanji movie-esque movie that's like I can take, you know, like my like nieces and nephews too. So yeah, I don't know.
So, Libby, what do you think?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts.
Oh, let's hear them.
So let's see. I feel like what Alex was saying is that they kind of focus on like one aspect of the movie, and they'll be really good in that aspect of the movie, but then they kind of are sloppy on the other parts. It's like they were given the assignment of like, here's everything you need for a movie, and they're like, well, I really want to make a movie that has like amazing costumes, and so I'm going to really focus the budget on the costumes. Oh wait, we have to have a story. Yeah, I'll work on that later. So it's like, I feel like a lot of movies are just like focusing in certain parts and then forgetting that to make a really good movie, you need to kind of make it level almost everywhere. Because like with like Jurassic Park, like they've made more Jurassic Park movies. They will never be the same as that first Jurassic Park movie, because they didn't just say, let's just use all CGI stuff. They used CGI as well as real life animatronic things. And nowadays, like, those movies don't hit that same way. They don't hit as hard because it's all just CGI. You're like, yeah, that doesn't exist. And like, it's really good CGI. It looks amazing, but it's not, it doesn't feel real because you don't see it in the actors' faces. You know that they're just trained actors at this point, and it's not the same kind of thing. But I do feel like a lot of the movies, like in the past not the past few years, pre-pandemic, it was a lot of just sequels and let's stay in franchises. It was, let's do reboots of like live action sequels and everything like that, and like live action Disney remakes. Let's just redo everything that we know worked in the past. And hopefully they realized, oh, that's not really great. It's not doing well. It's not original, and people aren't like eating it up like we want them to. And so I feel like with the pandemic kind of helped in helping people to step back from their jobs a little bit, go home for a little bit, And also people aren't going to the movies as much anymore. Like there's not really packed movie theaters anymore, and I don't think we'll ever have the same movie type experience anymore. And with that has come more experiential kind of movies that are being put out on platforms that you can just stream from home. And I think it's better that way because when you're in a crowded movie theater, you're just like, I'm just having fun on a Friday night kind of feel. And so you don't want to think too much. But when you can be at home and kind of, it could be just you and your laptop watching that movie, it can be a lot more of a personal experience. And that's where I think we can get deeper stories and more meaningful stories. So like with Turning Red that just came out, one of Pixar's, I think, most experiential movies that they came out with, one of my new favorites. And I don't think they could have done that same kind of movie and put it out in theaters and have it get a good response. But because it was at home, it was just, you had to have a Disney Plus subscription. It, I think, was able to get a good grounding of love for it instead of it just being like, it's another Pixar movie. It was more something that you could watch and experience by yourself in your home. And I feel like more movies are figuring that out, hopefully. Also, Free Guy. That was really, really good.
Yes.
I've been watching a lot of Disney Plus, as you can tell.
Oh, there's so much good stuff on Disney Plus. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I feel like because we're getting to a strange period and how to make cinema still intriguing to the masses and something that you want to watch and it not be just another Marvel movie. I feel like hopefully we're getting to kind of a turn in the movie making like cinema industry into where it's not just going to be a bunch of copy paste remakes or star-studded casts with just like it's another just action movie or this is just another Adam Sandler movie. It's hopefully we're getting somewhere else with that.
Yeah, and I do think we are starting to see that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about Jumanji, and not even just Jumanji, but movies that were coming out in that era, there was a lot more, I think, mainstream experimentation that was happening, which was nice as opposed to things have become so much more formulaic, I feel, over the past few years. And even in film school, when I was getting the first degree of 2, everything was just about structure. And I understand, like, it's a learning institution and they have to teach it that way. But it was just very eye-opening to, there are very clear-cut guidelines in terms of making sure that your like piece fits into a genre and fits thematically into a box. And then even within that, hitting certain plot points in a certain order. Like everything is so formulaic. And I think it got to a point where, like we were being bombarded by reboots and by sequels and by remakes. And I think it's so telling that a lot of the most popular things over the past couple of years have been foreign pieces, like foreign cinema, like Parasite. Is that the name of the movie that won Best Picture a few years? Like Parasite, winning the Oscar, Squid Game, which I absolutely love, and I have such a hard time with graphically violent things, but I couldn't not watch it because I was just so hooked, and it was so weird and so unique and so perfect. And like that's the level of creativity I think North American cinema has lost in the mainstream over the past few years. So yeah, hopefully between streaming services and between seeing how good things like that can be, we'll see more Jumanjis coming. But time will tell. Time will tell. Yeah. Let's go back into the comments here. 99, I believe, was also the year of The Mummy. Can't remember what else came out that year, but I know like it's widely considered one of the best years. American Beauty wasn't like one of the big ones.
Well, I think
came out that year.
Was it 99 or 2000 or 2001? The Matrix. I think it was 99.
I think so. Yeah, Matrix.
I think it was
I feel
99.
like Gladiator was around that time as well, which another movie I haven't seen, but like I know it was a big deal. I know it happened. There we go. All right. So I want to move into the game. I forgot to get a thing to write.
Wait, we have a game?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to tell both.
We're playing Jumanji?
There's a game. So yeah, if you can grab a writing utensil and something to write on. This one will require actual words. Normally I go for like 2 answers, like yes or no, but you need words for this one.
Words, okay.
Yes.
That's different.
Yes. Feel free to play along in the chat. Always encouraged. Okay, so how tonight's game is going to work, we're kind of playing Jumanji, but we're not going to get fun animals joining us, which is unfortunate. If we can, I'll be so happy. So I am going to pull up one of the Jumanji riddles. It's going to be written on screen, but there's one word missing. You have to fill in the blank and tell me what word is missing from the rhyme.
Oh, this is exciting.
Yes.
Oh, it's gonna be hard.
And then, do I want to throw a curveball? Yeah, why not? You'll get 1 point if you can correctly identify the word. You'll get a second point if you could tell me what thing from Jumanji was being summoned when this clue showed up in the game. Or what happened. Yeah. So up to 2 points per question. All right. And then there's a bonus question. It's not one of my best, but might have even lost the answer to the bonus question. Oh well, I'll find it. I know, I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. The very first one. Ahem. Oh, I also realized, I know I said that you'll get an extra point if you could tell me what the thing was being summoned was. I don't actually have that written down. Actually, I don't even have the answers written down for fill in the blanks. So this will be good for all of us. Here we go. I know, I probably should have. Here we are. At night they fly, you better run. These blank things are not much fun. At night they fly, you better run. These blank things are not much fun. Now, raise your hand when you have your answer written down. Again, you want to fill in the blank, and then if you're so compelled, tell me what you think this is summoning. Then that can get you a second point. Okay, Libby's ready.
Okay, hold on.
Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Show me your answers.
Oh, mine's not big.
It is winged and it is bats. Very good. So that is 2 points for Libby, 2 points for Alex, 1 point for Lisa. Unless, Lisa, did you write down bats?
I did, and I thought we were going to say it out loud, but it's
Oh, okay. Well, I believe you. You said bats. There we go.
Thanks. I'll write it down next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next. In the jungle, you must wait until the dice read blank or 8. In the jungle, you must wait until the dice read blank or 8. The chat is doing very well so far.
Do we know what Jumanji means? Like what's
I don't. I want to believe it's a word that means something, but I think it's a made-up word.
Okay.
All right. Oh, yes, and raise your hand when you have your answer. Okay, good. All right, let's see. In the jungle, you must wait until the dice read. Reveal your answers. 5 disappeared into the game. 1. 5, Alan. Okay, so Lisa and Libby both get 2 points, and Alex, you get a high 5. There you go. Well done.
You get 1 with 2 die? What?
But that's
You're
true.
right. You picked.
I realized that. I was focused on the rhyme of it or whatever. Yeah.
I love it. That was great.
The meter would work with almost any number. It's a
No, it
single
would.
syllable.
I'm not saying one is better. It's just that's what my brain was
brain
stuck on
was?
That makes
rhythmically.
sense. Go with the instinct.
So I was like, yeah, I knew you couldn't get 1 with 2 die, but I figured, oh, maybe it meant like both of them, like Snake Eyes. I mean, it's Jumanji. It's weird, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, chance to redeem yourself. Here we go. A little bite will make you itch, make you blank, make you twitch. I have to look up the answer to this one. Second. Got it. Okay. And hands up when you think you know the answer.
Hold on. I still need to write it down because
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Cry mosquitoes, scratch mosquitoes, Sneeze mosquitoes. One of you got, well, you all got mosquitoes, so you all get a point for mosquitoes. Hold on. And it is sneeze. Lisa, you get a point.
Oh yeah.
That's just Kristen Zaza.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, quickly going into the comments here. Vincent
Oh my
says, I thought
God.
Bonnie Hunt was wonderful in this film. I only knew her from her music career. Holding Out for a Hero is one of. I actually didn't know that was the same person.
No, it's not. It's Bonnie Tyler. As my mother
Tyler
is
is a
pointing
singer.
out,
I'm not.
my partner loves to like confuse people with like similar names like Bette Midler and Bette
Betty
Davis,
Davis.
and
That's
Bonnie
funny.
Hunt and Bonnie Tyler.
I Vincent, bring Vince on the show sometime. He seems like fun.
Say thank you to my mother for calling out that.
I love everything that just happened. It was amazing. Okay, next. This will not be an easy mission. Blank, slow the expedition. This will not be an easy mission. Blank, slow the exhibition. Oh, expedition, not exhibition. They're so similar. I don't know. Words are tough. This will not be an easy mission. Slow the expedition. It's my impersonation of Peter reading it. Oh, the chat's using emojis to answer now. I love that. Okay. Let's see. 3, 2, 1.
I don't know. It's just questions.
Ears. Question mark.
Tears.
Oh, tears. That's a breath kernel.
Oh,
Okay.
breathe,
slow.
and then the kernel.
No, we're looking for monkeys.
What was the what's the
Monkeys.
blank?
Monkeys slow the expedition.
Monkeys.
Oh, it's monkeys.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's monkeys,
This will-
monkeys.
Yes, this will not. It was monkeys. Double monkey. So just a single monkey would get you 2 points.
yeah,
Okay.
that went over my head.
Next. His blank are sharp. He likes your taste. Your party better move post haste. I have to double check the answer on this one. Yeah, okay. I'm right.
This is the reason why I think this is Robin Williams Equus, the way he looked at this thing.
His blank are sharp. He likes your taste. Your party better move post haste. I believe in you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just
I'm
waiting on Alex T-Tie.
all
You
right.
got this, Alex.
Wait, I misspelled it. All right.
Let's see the answers. 3, 2, 1. Teeth, lion. Teeth, alligator. What'd you write? Teeth,
Horns.
Horns.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
just
it.
horns.
Just the
Okay.
animal.
Well, it's fangs, and it is a lion. Yes. So wait, who said? So
I said-
Lisa, are you the only one who's getting a point right now?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
said-
Okay.
Crocodile Libby?
Yeah.
Libby, did you say fangs or teeth?
I said teeth.
You said teeth. Okay. Yes.
That's tricky.
I know,
Tricky.
isn't it?
It's like,
Kristen Zaza
Well, I
said
thought
teeth.
teeth,
Aubrey says
but I thought that would
teeth.
be too obvious. I put horns.
Horns. No, it's a good answer. Maybe for the rhino. Okay. Hunter from the blank wild makes you feel just like a child.
Oh my gosh. I think I know this.
Hunter from the blank wild makes you feel just like a child. Could have killed you at any moment. Then why didn't you? You didn't roll the dice. Alan did.
That was good.
Thank you. The second degrees in acting.
You could be an excellent villain.
Oh, I've been told that by many people in my personal and professional life.
Oh,
All right, let's see the answers in 3, 2, 1. Darkest kernel, deep Alan's Colonel. What'd you write, Alex?
Outer.
What?
Outer.
Outer.
Outer
Oh,
Wild.
it is Darkest Wild, and it is the Colonel. So, 2 points for Lisa. I believe 1 point for Libby. And did you guess who it was, Alex? Did you guess that it was Van Pelt?
I mean, I did in my head. I didn't write it down.
Okay, I trust you. I'll give you the point.
Give it to Alex.
Yeah, okay. We believe you. We believe you.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was a point of guessing because there was that second question where there was no summoning. It was just the like
What, it was just monkeys.
one of the instructions of the board game.
Oh,
So I didn't know if this was going to be paired with a summon, but I did think.
oh yeah. All of these are
sounds like
summoned.
it's the Colonel.
They're all summoned. They're all
Yeah.
summoned.
Okay.
Next. Don't be blank. It isn't thunder. Staying put would be a blunder. I have to look this one up too.
Oh. Okay, we're going with this.
Okay. All right. Got one answer from Alex. Okay, let's hear our answers in 3, 2, 1. Fooled, scared, stampede. Alex, what do you think it's summoning?
Rhinos.
Okay, close enough. So it is summoning rhinos that are part of a stampede. So y'all get a point for stampede, and the word is fooled.
Well, I get 2 points.
Yeah, you get 2 points. You got 2 points. There you go.
Finally.
Don't
Yes.
be fooled.
It isn't thunder. Staying put. 2 points for Aubrey. Well done. Well done. All right. Next. Every month at the blank moon, there'll be a monsoon in your lagoon. Kind of a clunky rhyming scheme, even when you put it in the blank word, but I didn't write Jumanji. Every month at the blank moon, there'll be a monsoon in your lagoon. Yeah, okay. I'm right. All right, let's see the answers in 3, 2, 1. Full. Peaking? What's a peaking moon?
It's the place. It's the restaurant that's referenced in Weird Al's.
No, that's not the answer. It's quarter moon. At the quarter moon.
No.
Yes. And it's a monsoon. So Libby and Lisa wrote monsoon. Were you thinking monsoon, Alex?
It says it in the line.
Yeah. So were you thinking it?
Give it to him.
Okay. Done. Okay. Next. Oh, this is the last question of the regular round. How
Oh,
exciting. Okay. Beware the ground on which you stand. The blank is quicker than the sand. Beware the ground on which you stand. The blank is quicker than the sand. Okay.
I know this is wrong, but
Maybe it's right. I mean, quarter moon is apparently an answer or a thing.
that was rude. I'm offended.
Okay, let's see the answers. 3, 2, 1. Ceiling. Rock. Floor. Libby, you get 2 points. It's floor and quicksand.
I feel like falling through floor.
I
Oh,
put
you-
quicksand, so I get 1 point.
Yeah, both
He's
of you
not
got 1
falling
point.
through any sand. He's falling through the floor.
Yeah, but you wrote ceiling.
Yeah, but what is
You guess 1 point.
summons.
What? Yeah.
Oh
the
yeah,
summon.
you know, you get a point for what it's summoned.
Okay, okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah. You don't get a point for sealing in the rhyme because it's floor.
Fine.
Okay.
Not mad about it.
I have to figure out how I'm going to do the bonus round. Hold
Okay.
on. Okay. Bonus round will operate slightly differently than usual. Do you want to wager your points? Maybe you do.
I do.
Yeah, no, let's do it that way. Okay, so I'll tell you how many points you all have as per usual. You can decide how many points you would like to wager, but the wagering will operate slightly differently than in the past. And I'll explain after you tell me how much you want to risk, because not knowing is half the fun. So, Lisa, you
Yes.
have 12. Libby, you have 10. Alex, you have 8. How many points would we all like to wager? You can always change your answer after you hear what other people have done.
I'm going to go with all 12.
All 12, oh my, okay. Libby,
I'm gonna go with 5.
5, okay. Alex,
I'm gonna go with. Wait, how many points does Libby have? 10.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with. Wait a minute. If I wager 1 point, what does that mean? Do I get 2 points if I win, or what?
if you wager 1 point, if you get
So I'll wager 2. Wager 2.
wager 2, okay. There you go, 2. All right. So normally with the wagering, I just ask you a question. If you get it right, that many points gets added. If you get it wrong, it gets subtractified. For today's question, you're not going to be losing points, but you have the opportunity to gain as many points as you have wagered, and I will tell you how. The question is this. Please name for me the animals that are the game pieces in Jumanji. For each one you get right, you get that many points added. So there are 4 pieces that are played. If you get all 4 right, then Libby, you get 5, 10, 20 points added. Alex, if you get all 4, you get 8 points added to your score. Lisa, if you get all 4 right, you get 12 times 4, 48.
I think it's 48, yeah.
Yeah, added to your score. So please name for me the 4 animals that make up the game tokens in Jumanji.
Okay.
They may or may not all be animals that we see in real life in the game.
forgot how to spell.
Do you get points for being the first one done?
Sure.
Hey,
I'm just saying I'm not going to get any points otherwise. Give me a few points and then you guys can get
Okay, let's see the answers. Hold up your answers. Elephant, monkey, rhino, gator. Elephant, rhino, monkey, gator.
Oh.
Rhino, lion, giraffe, hippo. Okay, we're looking for rhinoceros. Who said rhinoceros?
Rhino.
Okay, you all said rhino. Hold on. Elephant. Elephant. Okay. Monkey. Crocodile.
Oh, come on.
Oh, they didn't say crocodile. You can't give them the points.
It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, because it's a whole
Alligators are
point
not
in the
crocodiles.
movie when it's like, Alan, you just saved me from a giant alligator. Kiss. He's like, no, crocodile. What? Crocodile. Alligators don't have the snout.
Oh, yes. That romantic moment.
So, Lisa, you get an extra 36 points. I'm not going to do the math, but you won.
Yay! That was fun.
And going into the comments, Kristen Zaza, so close. You just need to swap out your hippo. Oh, and your crocodile. Did anyone actually say alligator?
Well,
Oh, no, sorry. It is a
crocodile wasn't the
crocodile.
right one.
It's a crocodile was right. Alligator was wrong. That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Martha got it right.
Martha got it. Well done.
Very
Ooh,
nice.
elephant. You did. Good job, Martha. Martha also won the Dead Fairy game during Peter Pan. So she has a very good track record with things I didn't know existed in her wealth of knowledge. I'm very impressed, Mother. Well done. Well done. Awesome. Brilliant. All right, friends. Well, any closing thoughts on Jumanji? Anything that we didn't discuss that you want to discuss?
Yes.
Yes, let's go.
Just I have two things. Love Ricky Ricardo's bongo drums throughout the movie.
Yes.
Best feature sound. And also, I wrote this down. They should have hired real monkeys, but that would have been abusive. But maybe not as abusive as watching this animation.
Oh, I love the animated monkeys. They're so funny.
Me too. I was being cruel. Anyway, those are my final thoughts.
I like it. I like it.
I like the boy monkey. That's fine. That can stay.
Yes. Oh my God, he looks like Michael Jackson from Thriller. He has like the Thriller hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like when they find the Wizard of Oz on the TVs and they try to start flying. It's so adorable. It's so funny. Libby, closing thoughts on Jumanji.
It's good.
Good. Well done.
Yeah.
Alex.
Well, I will definitely be finishing the rest of the movie. I'm not sure if tonight, but if not tonight, tomorrow.
Good.
Because the 20 minutes that I did watch today were very delicious. I wanted to give an honorable mention. I already called out some of my favorite moments, but the one moment that I didn't call out was after Alan gets beat up. So like he meets the boys, the camera cuts away, goes back to Alan after the boys are running away on the bikes and stealing his bike, and he's got like blood pouring down his thing. He's got a huge black eye. It's a bloodbath. So like that's another aspect of like the 90s filmmaking, like these 90s kids movies. Like the kids talk like adults and they get
They fight
messed
like
up.
Yeah.
They get messed up. It's pretty horrifying to see, but I enjoyed that as well.
Alex, you're not important anymore. Is that Eleanor Waffles?
Eleanor Waffles.
Is that a hamster?
Yes, she's one of my two hamsters, and I think she's the best part of Jumanji.
We summoned wildlife.
I
Are there
summoned wildlife.
Are there hamsters in Jumanji?
Say hi.
Probably. We just don't see them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Oh
she's
my
pretty cute, and she knows it. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's always the issue. Don't I know it? All right. Well, friends, with that, where'd she go? Oh, there she is.
She is.
All right. Well, we're going to do our sign-offs, and I think Eleanor wants the attention, so here we go.
Yes.
Lisa, tell us all about you. Tell us about Eleanor and all the fun things you have coming up together.
Well, if you love Eleanor as much as I do, you can follow her on Instagram at Eleanor Waffles, where you can see all of her escapades. But if you enjoyed anything that I said, you should also follow at Cahoots Theater on Instagram, where you can learn more about our show coming up in June. 3 Ordinary Men. Tickets are on sale. So if you are in Toronto, please come out and support live theater. We've been having a hard time during the pandemic, so can't wait to see everyone. Thanks so much for having me on, Matt.
Thanks, Lisa. Always a pleasure. All right. Libby, tell us about you, who you are, where we can find you, and if you have anything super exciting on the horizon.
Yeah, so I'm Libby from Punzi's Palace. You can find me on YouTube, Punzi's Palace. I have some Disney college program compilations that I came out with, and there will be some more coming out soon, as well as just other fun things. There may even be another Disney analysis series like the Quarantine Queens, but completely different, and I'm very excited about it. I just need to get it ready. It has to do with Disney princes instead,
Nice.
so it's very exciting. But you can also find me on Instagram at Punzi Palace. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Libby. Always a pleasure. Alex T-Tai, same question. Who are you? What are you doing? Where can we find you?
Not much to say here. You can't find me. I'm a mystery man hiding under the rocks. But once in a blue moon, there's an opportunity, and we've mentioned it at the beginning of the show. Relatively soon, I'll be performing in Niagara on the Lake in Wednesday the Musical, directed by yours truly, Matt. So yeah, if you, I mean, pay attention to Matt's social media. If he ever, talks about Wines Day, then you'll maybe find me.
He said you have to come back on. I agree. There it is. That's what we can look forward to.
Brendan Fraser, the Mummy.
Yes, that'll be it. Brilliant. All right. Thank you, Alex. And of course, if you're watching this right now, this is my channel. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. And we're going to be continuing the Robin Williams movie marathon for another 3 weeks, I believe. Next week, we are doing 1 hour photo, which I mistakenly last week said would be this week, but this week was Jumanji. Next week, 1 hour photo, one of like the scarier Robin Williams movies. I've only seen it once, and it was very unsettling. So I guess I'm excited to revisit that and to discuss it next week because hooray, voyeurism. But until then, friends, thank you for watching. My name is Matt and I have 2 degrees, and this has been the Tea Cup for One. How do I end this?